popular tunes that we have used from the medieval period. It's one of the oldest that we know. And over 150 composers have used the tune you're about to hear in their compositions, everywhere from Geminiani, Handel. You all know his Sarabande. You've heard this. That's La Folia. Bach, J.S. Bach, used it in a peasant cantata. And many, many other composers, up to Rachmaninoff. Beethoven, he quotes it a little bit in the Fifth Symphony. And Rachmaninoff did on a theme by Corelli. And even, here's some good trivia for you. Britney Spears, in her Oops, I Did It Again, uses the same chord progression as La Folia. So you never know where you're going to find some classical music influence. Okay, this is by C.P.E. Bach. He was the second eldest son of J.S. Bach and was court musician for Frederick of Prussia.
Evening. Can you hear me? Okay. So, as the program says, it's a concerto for 2 violins, but you only see one, and a bassoon. And it's all Dr. Harris's fault. He's been wanting to do this version of this concerto for 44 years, so let's party.
I've been trying 44 years. Let's see how it works.
So what you just heard, two Baroque pieces. So I'm about to fix what's Baroque.
Oh, now.
Oh, come on, you guys.
Oh.
So I guess around 2015, Dr. Lesbich and I knew each other. I got the bright idea that I was going to ask the local composers if they all wanted to write marimba solos for me. They all did, which was really nice and somewhat scary because that meant I had to play them. I think Dr. Lesbich was the first one to deliver. Now, it took me a while to get to wrap my head around it, this piece. But once I did, it's a joy to play. It's a blast to play. It's hard, in as much as I probably make it hard. The score is quite beautiful to look at. It looks exactly like it sounds. All right, when you hear it, you know, you imagine what the music looks like. That's probably what it looks like. Now, I've kidded with Dr. Lesbich at times about the materials he threw upon. I was like, you wrote this for me. I was like, it's my piece. It's exactly it. It's a lot of things that I am musically and as a person. So take the title, Fix. All right. Most people who know me, I guess I am calming down some, but I'm not exactly what you imagine. I'm not chill. So it's like I gotta get my fix, which this is my fix. I also thought about the South because he hadn't been. I'd been a few years, but like you know, we say things in the South like, "Are you coming? I'm fixing to leave." You know, it's like I was fixing to call you. So I imagine, and Dr. Lesbich has never denied or agreed to all these things that I say about the piece. All right, so I'm just letting you know, this is how, I hope you, for now, Dr. I don't want to know anymore, Bob, just don't even tell me. So maybe when, you know, we were hanging out just as friends, and he was like, fix it, probably think, what is he talking about? What's he fixing? Fixing, oh, it means he's about to go somewhere, something's about to happen, okay. Now the musical material that is drawn upon, I showed him and some other people some extended techniques on the marimba. All right, we'll see what that is. And the first, it's in two movements, all right, but they're attacca, all right, and I'll get through it. The first movement has like a lot of quintuplets, 5 notes to the beat. And at that time that he was writing it, I had a jazz group that was playing a lot around town, and in the Louisiana some. And I know one of our songs we always played was Take 5. So I have to imagine that was in the back of Dr. Lesbich's ear. Take 5, okay, cool. Quintuplet material. All right? And then, at the end of movement 1, you improvise your way out of it. Well, it was my idea, can I improvise my way out of movement 1 to movement 2? And he, of course, said yes. So, again, another thing that I was doing as jazz vibraphonist was improvising, so he wrote an improvisation section in there for me. Some of the thematic material in the first movement and the beginning of the second movement is quite modal, and there's definitely tonal centers. They do shift, but it's not exactly the idea of major or minor, but there are certain notes that are home based, which is another aspect of jazz, modal jazz. And so I think he was aware of this. The most interesting thing about harmonically that's happening is in in the about the middle of the second movement, it is clearly a completely misspelled E flat blues scale. But he leaves out one note, the E flat. It's absolutely brilliant. Like it's there. Like you can sort of hear it. So like I tried really hard to make sure I cannot hit the E flat, or everybody will know. But I had to think it was in there. And throughout the whole thing, it's like here's an idea, here's another idea. Sometimes they come together, sometimes do. Just like I'm talking to you right now. He wrote a piece that sounded just like me. So thank you, Dr. Lesevich. I don't think I've ever got a chance to talk about it in public since my colleagues. It's like, I wonder if we're talking. They got up to talk, so I guess we are. Let me set up my music, and we'll get right on it. Sorry, I don't have enough.
presence. At this time and portion of our program, I ask that we all take a moment of silence to remember the music faculty was passed on. Thank you. On behalf of the faculty of the music department, we say thank you to all of the retired faculty members that we have today. We thank you for all of your tireless work, dedication, and commitment to elevate the bar here at Jackson State University, especially in the Department of Music. Today is a special day. Many years ago, you served as assistant professor, associate professor, professor of music, director of band, director of music technology, director of jazz studies, and the list goes on and on and on. You served as one of my teachers. You served as many thousands of teachers for the students. You paved the way. You have created very good performers, very good educators in the state of Mississippi and serve in the United States of America. We cannot say thank you enough. So this program is dedicated for you. At this time, I would like to bring up Dr. David Ware, who's going to introduce our first honoree, and then we'll proceed on from there. Thank you.
Good evening to you. Dr. Johnny Anthony, a native of Walls, Mississippi. Dr. Johnny Anthony is a graduate of Delta Center High School, a graduate of Russ College, and a graduate of the University of Iowa, where he earned master's and PhD degrees in music education. Dr. Anthony served in various leadership capacities and served as coordinator of the graduate program in our Department of Music for 35 years. Dr. Anthony holds the distinct honor of being the first African American president of the Mississippi Music Educators Association. Dr. Anthony is an avid tennis player and has remained actively involved in the game of tennis for over 40 years as a player, captain, coach, and mentor. He's also a faithful member of Pearl Street A&E Church, where he serves as steward, director of the instrumental ensemble, sanctuary choir, men's chorus, and the Pearl Street Men's Quintet. Dr. Anthony is married to the former Aretha Woodall, and a retired math and special education teacher in the Rankin County School District. They're the proud parents of two sons, Vincent Anthony, doctor of internal medicine and a specialist in nephrology in Los Angeles, California, and Arthur Anthony, attorney and partner in the international law firm Locke, Little, Bissell, and Sapp in Dallas, Texas. Thank you, Dr. Anthony.
Next up, we'll bring Mr. Hollinger to introduce Dr. Darcy Bishop.
Good evening. I am Lowell Hollinger. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking on Dr. Darcy Bishop. So first let me say she wasn't able to come today. She had dental surgery today and wasn't able to make it because of that. Okay. Dr. Darcy Bishop is from Hudson Valley and from the Hudson Valley in New York. She attended Juilliard where she received a bachelor's and master's degree in trumpet performance. Later, while teaching at JSU, she received her doctorate from the University of Mississippi. She came to JSU in 1988 after winning the principal trumpet position with the Mississippi Symphony Orchestra. And she only accepted that position after knowing that the position would be tied to a position here at JSU as a part-time adjunct for trumpet. She held this position for 3 years, and then with the lobbying of Dr. London Branch, who was one of our faculty members that we just lost, she was given the position full-time. The positions she's held at the university are interim department chair, associate dean of the graduate school, and interim dean of the graduate school. After 30 years of service here at JSU, and after her retirement of 30 years of service at JSU, she retired and she continued to play with the Mississippi Symphony Orchestra. Sadly, she was just recognized at our last Bravo concert series of this season for her retirement from the Mississippi Symphony Orchestra. So after this season, this is her last season with the symphony. So two things I just wanted to quickly say, stories about Dr. Bishop is, the first one is about Ricardo Amelia, who was one of her students. And if I know the faculty, the retired faculty have started laughing when I mentioned that name, because he was a live wire. I'll just leave it like that, okay, of a student when he was here. So I remember being in Dr. Magruder's office, who was my teacher, he was a clarinet professor here, and all I heard was a big commotion. The student came out, he threw books all across the floor. I mean, it was just like, what is going on? What I know now to be the problem, or what occurred, is because Dr. Bishop was a stickler about her musicians and about you practicing and doing what's necessary in her studio. And so he must have come to his studio lesson unprepared, and he heard about it. And so in his frustration, he went outside and threw his books everywhere. And she happily got up and went outside. Mr. Amelia, what are you doing? Come on, get your stuff up. Let's come on back in my office. And so he continued to have his lesson, and that is quintessential Dr. Bishop. A story that I have personally from Dr. Bishop is, so I came to JSU. I was not a music major starting off. And so I had been here, and then I was getting ready to graduate. Most of us around here do about 5 years, and so it was my 5th year. Was undecided. I got a degree in biology. Was undecided what I wanted to do. I stayed to get a degree in music. Well, she didn't know that because she was a trumpet teacher. I was in the clarinet studio. I get on the elevator. She gets on the elevator. She said, "Son, you're still here?" I'm like, "Wait." So. But again, that was quintessential Dr. Bishop, so I will give her this plaque in her honor. I'll take it in her honor.
Next up, we'll have Dr. Little to introduce Mr. Harold Hall.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The first individual that I will introduce tonight actually did retire from JSU. However, the contributions he made to the department just couldn't be overlooked, and I'm thankful to the committee of this event that they agreed for him to be recognized and honored. Harold Hall Sr. was born in Canton, Mississippi, and began his music studies in the public schools of New Orleans, Louisiana. He received a BME from Jackson State University and an MME degree from Louisiana State University. From 1966 to 1969, he served as assistant band director at Jackson State University. He left JSU for a short stint in 1970 and returned in 1971, where he remained for 13 years. Serving as director of marching band, assistant director of the symphonic band, director of the concert band, and director of the woodwind choir. During his tenure, he initiated several changes in the marching band, including, but not limited to, changing the primary band uniform color from royal blue to light navy blue and adding a hint of Columbia blue accent, replacing majorettes with featured dancers, which was also attributed to Shirley Blakely Middleton, creating the Tiger Run-On, creating the Tiger Strut, affectionately known as the Adagio Step, creating the float of JSU during halftime, adopting the name the Sonic Boom of the South, increasing the size to 160 instrumentalists in 1983, and he was a director of bands when the band performed in the NFL halftime shows, many of those. It is safe to say that during his tutelage, he catapulted the Sonic Boom to status of a household name around the southeastern region and beyond. Mr. Hall has touched the lives of thousands, including my own. To this day, we still have long, and if you know Harold Hall, you know exactly what I mean, conversations about band pageantry. And he always makes it a point to let me know how proud he is of my work, which means a lot to me. To speak of his love for JSU and the Sonic Boom, I remember the infamous story when he took the band to perform for an NFL halftime show. Some in his room were actually his students during that time. If anyone knows anything about Mr. Halton, we know the impact he made on marching band drill. Mr. Halton, being the perfectionist he is, rehearsed the NFL halftime show until the students couldn't execute it, or until they could execute it in their sleep. As the story goes, it rained extremely hard on that day that they were to perform. The drum majors led the band onto the field, and things appeared to be business per usual. But as the show progressed, one side didn't quite look like the other. And if we know anything about field shows, they're supposed to be perpendicular to each other. It turned out that a student took the wrong step, and it caused the entire side to be misplaced. When Mr. Halton realized that mistake, he cried real tears. This speaks to his love for JSU. For showing the level of emotional connection and pride for this place, amongst many other things, I'm glad to introduce and honor Mr. Harold Halton. I'll be discussing this on his behalf.
Next up, Dr. Lisa Becker Roberts to honor Dr. Loretta Galbraith.
I'm going to do this a little differently, if you'll allow. I have to apologize. Dr. Hill is going to introduce this wonderful woman, but I'm going to ask her to stand with me tonight as she has since I came here. Dr. Loretta Galbraith began here in 2004 as the Assistant Director of Choral Activities, and over time became the Director of Choral Activities. And she retired in 2022. And I don't know if you're aware, but our field of music, in this field, there are not a lot of women who are doing this work. It's a unique place where we are. What a beautiful thing to look and see a senior vice president who's a woman, and to stand on the shoulders of Dr. Dolly Robinson, who was a trailblazer, and as I tell my students, a bad mamma jamma. But there were not a lot of women when I came to this department who were in tenured and tenure-track positions full-time. But this beautiful young lady was one of them, and has given me a number of really great pep talks, and kind of smiled at me and just put her arm around my shoulder as I struggled to learn how to be a better chair and a better colleague. My first semester here, we did a panel discussion on women in music performance and music scholarship. And since that time, it has been an honor to have her by my side. I actually cried a little bit when she retired. A couple of faculty, when they retired, I think Mr. Taylor and certainly Dr. Branch gave me the mother of all pep talks a couple times, and Dr. Thomas when I was feeling mighty low. And so I just want to tell you on a personal note, it has been my honor to work with you. I still see you as my sister. I am so grateful for the work that you have done with our students and with me and on me. So congratulations, Dr. Galbraith. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dr. David Ware to introduce Dr. Anita Jackson.
So Dr. Anita Jackson, former professor of piano and scholar, proudly served the Department of Music here at Jackson State for 36 years. Dr. Jackson was a major gift club donor with JSU's Institutional Growth and Enhancement Initiative in 2003, and was also instrumental in assisting the piano area with our very first Prism concert, which was part of the quadricentennial, or celebrating 125 years of Jackson State University in 2003. For decades, Dr. Jackson was the coordinator of the Gladys P. Norris Piano Festival, which my wife participated in a few years ago at JSU. And Dr. Jackson currently lives right across the street from my mother-in-law in North Jackson. We used to send Christmas cards to Dr. Jackson with my boys when they were small, 3 and 2 years old. And I'm sure you'll be happy to know right now, one's in college and one's about to graduate from high school. So thank you, Dr. Jackson.
Next up, Dr. Becky Robert for Dr. Karen Lofgate.
I'm back. I apologize. Dr. Hill is under the weather and not able to be here this evening, and so I have the distinct honor of introducing Dr. Karen Lavendier, who is not able to be here this evening with us. But Dr. Lavendier worked from 1984 until 2015 as our faculty in keyboard, and during that time, she facilitated some of the most amazing students' progress through our program. She also was a key inspiration in continuing to do the work of Dr. Jackson with the Gladys P. Norris Festival, and has retired and gone on to Indiana, where she is still performing as a collaborative pianist. So please give just a moment of honor to Dr. Karen Lavendier.
Now, Mr. Lowell Hollinger to introduce Dr. Louis Liddell. Come on, Dr. Liddell.
Oh, the stories about this man. Oh, the stories. Okay, so I'll start with Dr. Louis Liddell Sr., born and raised right here in Jackson, Mississippi. He attended Jim Hill, Lanier, and Brinkley High Schools, respectively, graduating from the latter in 1963. He was a part of the Civil Rights Movement and had been arrested right before deciding to attend JSU, where he received his bachelor's in music education in 1967. He also received a master's in music education from the University of Louisiana, Monroe, and received his doctorate from Mississippi State University. His first job was a band director at West McRae High School in Angie, Louisiana. After teaching there for 3 years, he and his family decided to come back to Jackson in 1970. He taught at Brinkley High School, where he met Mr. Dow Teller, who was another one of our honorees today, as a student, and then he taught at Provine High School. Additionally, he has served as director of bands and assistant professor of fine arts at Kentucky State University in Frankfort, Kentucky, and later chairperson of the Division of Fine Arts, assistant to the president and assistant professor of education at Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky, where he also served as an affirmative action officer and director of institutional research. He was an affirmative action officer and adjunct professor of sociology at Winona State University in Winona, Minnesota, assistant to the dean of the College of Arts and Science and associate professor of music at North Carolina A&T University in Greensboro, North Carolina. But then, in 1992, he was called back home to be the director of bands of his alma mater, Jackson State University. Now, you just heard all of those things I said, so he's a better man than me. He left a whole lot of money to come back to Jackson, Mississippi to be the director of bands, but I love, sir. He served 17 years in that role before retiring from JSU in 2009 and could not stay at home, so he took a job at his former school, Provine High School, where he is currently. He is also married to Frances Liddell, and they have 6 kids. So you can kind of see how deep the fabric is here at Jackson State, because I just told you that one of his students was Dow Teller, who was here, taught here, director of bands and all of that stuff. And then you can look forward to the roots that are here now, and myself, Dr. Little, and Mr. Johnson, the entire band staff are students of both of them. So the roots here at Jackson State are so deep, okay? But more on this man I met him in 1997 as a junior in high school when he came to Miami, Florida to do some recruiting. And I have been with him and around him ever since. I came to Jackson State in 1998, and I'm from Miami, Florida originally, so the question I'm always asked is, how did I not go to FAMU? But it's because between that man and another honoree, Dr. Russell Thomas, was the reason why I came to Jackson State University, and it was beyond the best decision that I ever made in my life. It is the reason why I am here now, why I am the musician that I am, and everything is owed to my experience here at Jackson State, and it's because of that man right there. We did a performance at Mississippi Bandmasters Association in December. We're the first HBCU to ever perform at that event in its history. And I was given the honor to honor him at that event, because if you know anything about Mississippi, many times we, meaning people of color, are not honored at events of this nature. And so our forefathers in band did not have the opportunity to be honored at that event. So it was incumbent upon me to make sure that I honored the man that made all of this possible for me. So thank you.
Taylor, and Dr. Roger Miller will introduce Mr. Taylor.
Dal Taylor, a native of Jackson, Mississippi, is a graduate of Callaway High School. He also attended Jackson State University, receiving a bachelor's and master's degrees respectively from Jackson State University. Mr. Taylor participated in the JSU Sonic Boom of the South Marching Band tuba section, and during his undergraduate years, he arranged more than 100 band selections, including the current JSU theme song, Get Ready, originally arranged by John Paul Jones. Mr. Taylor served as director of bands in 1984 through 1992 at Jackson State University, conducted both the symphonic and marching bands. During this period, the famous JSU Sonic Boom of the South Marching Band received numerous awards and citations, including national coverage in Jet Magazine, the Christian Science Monitor, and People's Magazine. The band was also featured in the 1991 NBA All-Star basketball game in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Motown 30th anniversary celebration in Hollywood, California in 1990. One of Mr. Taylor's most notable performances with the JSU Symphonic Band was in 1987, featuring Dr. Karen Laubiguer, pianist and retired professor of music at Jackson State University, who's also honorary tonight, performing George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, adapted for the band by Mr. Taylor. In 2009, Mr. Taylor developed an undergraduate degree program in music technology at Jackson State University, which further speaks to his impact on the Department of Music. And when you thought it was all done, on April 1st, 2012, after a 20-year hiatus from the band field, Mr. Taylor accepted the appointment to the position of interim director of bands, assistant professor of music, and director of music technology at Jackson State University, where he added on even more accolades by improving the inner workings of the university band program, several facility upgrades, securing new uniforms, and setting the template for the band to receive over $500,000 of new instruments. On June 30, 2015, Mr. Dal Taylor retired from Jackson State University after 31 years of service. And when you thought it was done, on September 18, 2017, Mr. Taylor, for a third time, accepted the appointment as director of bands at Jackson State University as he worked tirelessly to steady the ship to ensure a more permanent hierarchy of leadership for the future of Jackson State University band program. Mr. Taylor has molded and shaped lives for over 40 plus years, including my own. He took a chance on a no-name band director and gave him a chance to serve on his staff. During that time, he took that young director, along with his entire relatively young staff, under his tutelage. One of those young directors, of course, was myself. I could go on and on about the impact of Mr. Taylor.
and what he has meant in my life personally and professionally. But the most important is how he treated people and how he always acted as a consummate professional in any situation at all times. Of course, I learned several things administratively and musically from Mr. Taylor, but the biggest lesson was how I could treat people and students better to enable them to achieve and supersede their goals. He's always kind to those who are not always kind to him. He's always patient towards the impatient and always a wealth of knowledge in any situation. And I failed to mention that he is a walking thesaurus. If you ever heard this man write and speak, you would know exactly what I mean. During this very day, he congratulates my staff and I on a job well done and is always a phone call away for any advice. For his 40 plus and continued service to Jackson State University, I'm happy to extend an invitation to honoree Mr. Dow Taylor.
Dr. Russell Thomas, Dr. David, and Dr. David Webb.
So Dr. Russell Thomas Jr. is the former director of jazz education at Jackson State University, and he did that for over 30 years. He was a Fulbright scholar, and he founded Jazz in the Schools, a music education program that teaches jazz history and jazz improvisation to elementary and high school students. Dr. Thomas received a bachelor's degree from Jackson State University, a master's from Michigan State University, and a PhD in music education from the University of Utah. As a saxophonist, he has performed with jazz and blues musicians Lionel Hampton, Dizzy Gillespie, B.B. King, and a host of others. Dr. Thomas helped to produce 9 recordings of the Jackson State University Jazz Ensemble Class 1. This ensemble earned national acclaim by receiving the Dr. M.E. Hall Award for being selected as the Outstanding Jazz Ensemble at the 2009 Annual Jazz Festival at the University of North Texas. His publications include a composition for jazz orchestra titled Blues Grove and a book chapter in teaching music through performance of jazz. Dr. Thomas has received numerous honors and awards, including the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts and the Mississippi Humanities Teacher Scholar Award. Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
A couple of days ago, we lost a great mentor to the Department of Music, the Associate Professor of Music and Director of Orchestral Studies, Dr. London Branch. His services will be on this Saturday, April 20th, I believe in the Rose McCoy at 11 o'clock. Dr. Becker Roberts and several other faculty members will be present. We will give an award to his family. I'm going to ask Dr. Becker Roberts to come out to accept this award so that we can give this award to his family during the time of his service.
If I may just briefly say that Dr. Branch, even in his final days that were difficult, he was still thinking about his JSU family. And his family has requested, in lieu of flowers, to make donations to the Dr. London G. Branch Memorial Scholarship, an endowed scholarship in the amount of $25,000 that his wife started in his memory. And so if you feel so moved, Dr. Branch touched many of our lives, please consider making a donation to that scholarship. If I can ask you just to give him another round of applause. We also want to honor tonight the work and the memory of Dr. Emma Bayham Smith. Aunt Emma, as I called her, boss lady, as many others called her. who was a music educator and who retired from the Department of Music years ago. But like many of our honorees tonight, came out of retirement once or twice. Because this place, Dr. Mosley, as you often say about Jackson State, is just special. Dr. Branch came out of retirement 3 times as well. Mr. Taylor, I mean, so many. And Dr. Emma Brooks Smith also came out of retirement several times to come and work with us. And so, if I could also ask you to take a moment and honor her memory and her hard work with your applause as well.
Before we get started back with our program, I would like to thank the committee, the faculty, and the honorees for their participation in tonight. The program was something that was very near to some of us, and we wanted to make sure that we gave the flowers to those who have paved the way. So thank you again, and continue to enjoy the program. Thank you.
So this last piece we're going to perform was arranged by myself for the band, and it's entitled Say La La, and you'll hear this again on Friday when I see you at the spring concert.
La
come and bring the greeting and closing remarks. Dr. Rochelle Spears from the College of Liberal Arts, and also Dr. Lisa Mosley, the Senior Provost of Academic Affairs. Concluding the program, there is a private reception for all the honorees and faculty members in the art gallery. So we thank you all for attending, and good night.
Wow, this evening has been just wow. I am Recital Spears from the College of Liberal Arts, and in Lauryn Hill's 1998 groundbreaking album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she argues that music is supposed to inspire, and we should expect to be taken higher. Tonight, we have been inspired. In fact, we have been inspired for years, not just by the music created by the faculty and the former faculty of this department, which by itself is powerful, but by the time, the dedication, the patience, and the standards of excellence you uphold when working with our students. Thank you. We appreciate your willingness to share your gifts with us. As a fellow creative, I know it is not always easy to share your gifts with others. I mean, this is our baby, right? And we don't know if the world is going to love it the way that it should be loved. But rest assured, we do love it. We do love the creative work you do and the service you give. To our honorees, we are indebted to you for your many years of service. You have definitely inspired us to do better and be better. To paraphrase Ms. Hill, you have taken us higher. On behalf of Dr. Rico Chapman, who is the Dean of the College, and the entire College of Liberal Arts, we honor you tonight and always. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight at an event we don't always get a chance to do, and that's really honoring the faculty who are currently here, and of course those who are retired, maybe for the third or fourth time based on some of the indicators we've heard earlier. But certainly I do have to, shout out the mastery and excellence that tonight's Jazz Ensemble 1 performed, and let's give them another hand. Most people don't know that when I was younger, probably too young to be in a club, my father took me to see Pieces of a Dream at the Caravan of Dreams up in Fort Worth, Texas. And so Pieces of the Dream was my first club music that I went. Now, of course, he didn't, buy me anything to drink, but certainly wanted me to be exposed to real music and really wanted me to develop a love for music. And so Say La La is one of my favorite all-time songs because of the sentimental value of being with my dad and being able to be exposed to great music at an early age. And so, we've had this great night of talent and artistry, and I'm just full of pride and gratitude to the Department of Music, and certainly under the leadership of Dr. Lisa Beckley-Roberts, it continues to soar. I will admit to you all, some of the class here is graduating, I think, May 4th maybe? At 9, I see some hands nodding, yes, they keep me on track. May 4th at 9 o'clock. But this is the pandemic class. And they have experienced a tremendous, unique set of circumstances that would have halted most people. And they kept it up. So every time I hear the right beat, members pour into our students. It's exemplified here tonight, and it's one of the unique features of Jackson State University. And that's coming from a FAMU graduate. So I would just venture to say that, again, thank you to everyone who has been involved with this program. This is my favorite time of year. Recital year is my favorite time of year because I try to sneak in and listen and be continuously inspired, because like you, these students are my why. And I am always conscious of them. So I enjoyed seeing our retirees tonight. I've texted former band members of Dr. Liddell's and Dr. Taylor. Look who's here, look where I am. Because I'm bragging to them that I am in the midst of greatness. And so thank you again to the Department of Music, and thank you for